So while I was at work yesterday, I came across a movie on upcominghorrormovies.com that I had not heard of. I didn't know was coming out. It is a South Korean film that stars probably my favorite Korean actor, the guy from Oldboy, as well as I Saw the Devil. Not going to try to pronounce names because I don't want to offend anyone with how bad I am at pronouncing things. And this is about a group of people who come together to exhume a body. One of them are geomancers, which Kaylee knew what that was. I had never heard of such a thing.
And then two of them, the other two, are shamans.
Yeah. They're hired by this wealthy family to move this body. Now, our main guy here, he just has a bad feeling about it because of everything he knows about this. Of course, no one listens to him. They push through anyway. They go to move the body, and nothing good happens. So this, of course, is in Korean. We saw this as we saw in the only theater playing it that I'm aware of in the entirety of Arizona. And when we got there, it was actually pretty cool because it was not only pretty packed, but it drew a Korean crowd, which was cool to see. You know, overall, I did like the movie. I am a big fan of South Korean cinema. My biggest gripe with the film, I suppose, is number one, it definitely feels tropey at times for this subgenre, but the story also gets pretty muddled and confusing. It almost feels like two separate films. It almost feels like we see the first movie and then the sequel in one film, because it has like a break in the middle where the first event kind of ends and then we get into the second event. I was having a harder time following the story and my connection to the events, and that was taking me out of it a bit. And also, I'm not a big fan of these types of movies where a exorcism or something where you bring in a shaman, or you bring in a priest, or you bring in whoever, and they have these specific tools of the trade, and they're like, you know, we got to shake this, and we got to do that, and we got to... And I don't know. I'm never engaged by that stuff. Sit through it and roll my eyes a bit. Like, it feels silly.
I mean, that is the skeptic in you.
Yes.
Really, because, you know, obviously there's millions of people around the world who believe in these types of
rituals and practices.
And yeah, and for me, so I do agree with you. I thought that the plot, there's a lot packed into it, so it did get kind of muddled a little bit and was confusing to me at times, but actually my favorite part of, well, I have two favorite parts of the movie. One of them is seeing the like South Korean, like the rituals, like the shaman and just all of that stuff I find to be really fascinating. And it's interesting because we're so used to watching exorcism films, especially in the States, where it's Catholicism, it's Christianity, and I like those types of movies too. I'm actually a pretty big exorcism movie fan in general. I like the tropes and it always tends to work for me. And this one is an interesting type of an exorcism movie. It's also a ghost story. Second favorite part of the film was actually the tone and atmosphere that it builds. I think that a lot of Asian movies do this really well. They have like atmosphere locked down. They can really build this dark and eerie presence. And especially in this film, I felt that from the beginning. I don't think that there's any moment where there's maybe one tiny moment of levity that happens, but it's so small and so brief. The rest of the film is just super dark, and I really enjoyed that. I think it sets a good stage for the story that's being told. I also really liked some of the imagery that's in here. That's probably, if I had to pick a third favorite thing, would be that. There are some effects that are used that I think are very effective and have a real emotional like impact, especially for that part of the story. And then there's also something that happens maybe in the second half of the film that I was like, whoa, that's super cool, and I loved the look of it. And you know, we can't talk about it without giving spoilers, but it's really cool. And I've seen similar things, I guess, done before, but it's something that I would really like to see more of in films. You'll know what we're talking about if you watch the film. I like the film. I mean, we talked about it after, and I think that I'm probably higher on it than you are, but there's definitely, I didn't love it because I think it could have gone to darker places. Oh, and that's what I was kind of expecting based on that tone.
For a South Korean film, it's shockingly safe. That I was actually kind of blown away by in the end. I was like, oh, okay. That wasn't what I was expecting from that movie at all. There's a entity that enters the film that has a particularly cool aesthetic and look to them. I did like the movie. It's just too long for what it is, because they are trying to put a lot in, and that's why it's long. A condensing of these two separate stories together in one would have helped this to me. To have them simultaneously dealing with these things would have really ramped up the tension. I don't want to make it seem like it's not one story. It is. But I think when you watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because I do think it's a good movie. I think it's worth watching for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not saying that. I see what a wonderful film this could have been for me. And I just felt like it missed the mark, spreading things out too much and being too safe. I definitely think if you can catch it, I don't think there's many places showing it. So you're gonna probably have to wait for home video, VOD.
Home video. Gonna wait to pick it up at Blockbuster.
Yeah, gotta go pick up a VHS, a beta of this. I think all the performances are great. That's to be expected. It's good, right? I just feel like this one could have been awesome. Yeah. And it just never got there for me.
I mean, this is something that like I would revisit at some point, you know, in the future, just kind of for some of the imagery and to just give it another chance to see. It's a really cool film. Definitely go check it out if you can. It's
one that's going to be completely passed over this year because I literally haven't seen a single person talk about it. I'll be curious on if we have any like competition in reviews online, because literally have not heard one single person. And I brought this up to my group of people and everyone was like, I have no idea what this is. I've never heard of it. And it's in theaters.
Right, yeah.
That's crazy to me. If you're a huge fan of like supernatural Korean horror, you absolutely should watch this.
Yeah, totally.
So, that's that. Let us know if you check it out.
Bye!